cannot work in isolation. You can't go into government and be by yourself. You have to have people that will work with you through the processes, and that's what we're doing. It's really linkages and bridges, and making sure that they understand what the processes are. And when some of them ask us that, okay, we're looking for funding, what kind of funding are you looking for? Who can we get you involved with?
So what you're preaching really is that equality should be taken, not given.
It can't be given. It can't be given. There's nothing that's given. I mean, someone said that you come into this world in competition, and that's one of the things you will learn, that you have to struggle from the beginning, even to struggle to survive. When a woman goes into the labor room, and no matter how much you say, oh, thank God she's had the baby, it's a struggle, life and death from the beginning. It's a struggle before she gives birth to that child. And then that child, once it comes out, you have to smack it for it to cry. And that's where the struggle starts from. So once you, and I always feel that once you are given something, you tend not to appreciate it as much. You have to struggle for it. So sometimes you fall down a few times, you might lose a few times. But what we'll do is to make sure that the pathway is a bit clearer than it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, or try and make sure that we have people that can walk you through the process. The only thing we ask, and when you talked about mentorship, is that across board, what we ask is that find people that you can network with, and then let them work hand in hand with you to achieve those goals. And that's why women are beginning to rise up to do that as well.
Can we ever truly attain gender parity?
Gosh.
Are women truly equal to men?
We're not equal. We're not equal to men in that kind of way. We're separate beings, but the same. Let me go back to the Bible. We're created to the same. God created man and created woman as well. But when you look at it now in terms of the business and the world, it's a difficult question to ask because there's no right answer to it. I think we can work together. Women cannot work in isolation. Men cannot work in isolation. We need them, they need us, So we're still at that point where the balance is sometimes 70% to 30, sometimes it gets to 60, sometimes it gets to 90% to 30. It just keeps on changing. And sometimes, depending on what you're looking at, it can even be equal 50-50. But I think it's a process, and we're getting there slowly.
At the WIMBIZ conference, one of the speakers insinuated that a married woman can only rise as high as her husband would let her. Do you find that to be true or false?
I find out that based on all the women we talked to, I talk to so many women every day, I find out that your spouse is important in your achievements in life, man or woman. More in terms of men than women, because women tend to just let a man do what he wants to do. But you have to make, and one of the things we talk to young girls about is the family values is so important. It's one of the most important things compared to, I take it far above achievements in business, achievements in anything else. If your family is working and your children are working, you are doing exceptionally well. So you do need a spouse. You need your spouse to be able to encourage you. You need him to hold your hand, especially if you're on a fast track. So I explain to women that are not married that make the right decision. Do it well. Make sure you find a gentleman that understands that you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. You want to accomplish some goals because God has created you for a purpose, and you need to fulfill that purpose. So you do need your spouse to work with you. But I think also, even if you have gotten into the situation where you don't, there's a way you can, we all know how to explain these things and say, this is what I want to do, and find ways of getting around it one way or the other. Because a lot of women have done it. And so I don't use that as an excuse. I don't think it's supposed to be an excuse.
I said a lot of men have climbed to the top.
They've climbed to the top.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But you know the Margaret Thatcher stereotype.
Yes.
Almost every woman at the top is considered a veritable witch, for lack of a better word. Do women necessarily need to be tougher to rise to the top in the workplace? I don't agree with that. I think your personality, you as a person, you have to become the best that you are. And I tell people you can be an introvert, extrovert, quiet, nice, sweet. It doesn't matter. Once you're doing a business or it's a career, you have to be firm about what you want. You have to know who you are first and know what you want to achieve. That doesn't work for me. I don't think it has to be a Margaret Thatcher kind of. I know people that are sweetest, and when you see them, they're the sweetest things that you can think of. But when they are doing their business, they are doing their business. So I don't think it works that way.
But I still think that we have to go for it. I think nobody's going to give you on a platter of gold. You have to make an effort to get to where you want to get to.
We really must take a break now. We ask that you please join us again after the break.
Yeah, so for 8 years, you were Executive Director of Faith Foundation,
Yes.
an NGO with a mission to foster wealth creation by promoting business and entrepreneurial development among Nigerians.
Yes.
That organization was set up in 2000, in the year 2000. In the 14 years since then, what has changed?
First of all, I must state it. I mean, when we started Faith, it was just, the founder, Mr. Osayi Alile, just thought, let's just start something and begin to work with young people. Because we realized that there were not enough jobs, opportunities out there for young people, but they could actually do something with their hands, but make sure that the business they are running are sustainable businesses. And when we started, the word entrepreneurship was not even, nobody wanted their child to go and do business. We rather thought, go and work in a bank, oil company, just stay where you are, my child. You have to have a dignified occupation. But it's changed, you know. When you say you're an entrepreneur now, there's some form of respect for you. Sometimes you see that in life, at different phases of life, things change. You have to ask yourself, how can you flow with the change? And how can you get the best opportunity with that change? And that's what Faith Foundation did at that particular time. So we used the word, we made sexy the word entrepreneurship. And we made it more viable. I made it something that nobody thought it was an understated thing to do. It was something that I'm an entrepreneur and I'm proud of it. Because we wanted to explain to people that if you want to start a business, don't start it as if you want to do it in your house. Do it as if you want a business that will outlive you and your generations unborn. You want to create wealth for yourself, but also for your family and the nation. And we kept on trying to teach people that it's not just about you. And that's one of the things that we have a problem with in Nigeria, is that when we do things, it's always about me, myself, and I. We're trying to make people open their minds to see that even if you're producing candles and you're employing 2 people, that 2 people too, they're paying school fees for 2 people, and they're taking care of one sister somewhere. So it's a ripple effect. And that's what we keep on teaching. It's a ripple effect.
Faith Foundation is an NGO.
Yes, it is.
How much can NGOs do to tackle unemployment?
We're doing the most work, I must say, because the way the non-profit world works, you do things that are not what the stereotypes of life. You go out and you just do, because you're not, first of all, waiting for funding from the government. You're not waiting for the government to give you approval to do some things. So if you're tackling education, you're tackling unemployment, you are trying to use systems that are not necessarily traditional systems of doing things. And that's one of the things like Faith did. We're teaching not educational certificates now, but we're teaching people to become entrepreneurs. And we're bringing volunteers that understood the business of entrepreneurship into classrooms to teach these young people. So in a year, we're training over 2,000, 3,000 students, and also doing more things. But you see, the non-profit world or the NGO world, it's so relevant. When you see the private sector, you see the public sector, the next one that comes is the non-profit. But the only thing is that we all have to work together to achieve the unique goal of changing the society. And we have not still gotten where we are supposed to be, especially in Nigeria. But when you go to examples of the States, non-profits have been in existence. I mean, you talk to someone and say, oh, Ford Foundation, almost 100 years, 50 years of service. But the government has value for those organizations, and they work hand in hand with them. So when they're even coming to Nigeria to do programs like DFID, they're doing it with American state government, DFID, and Nigerian government. So it becomes even more the best way to accomplish your goals, because the government cannot do anything. And, you know, we tend to just sit and wait that, what happened? Government, we're waiting for the government. They can't do everything. We all have to have all hands on deck to be able to change our society.
What role does the educational system play in all of this?